Ever wondered what's the best way to steal from an ATM without getting caught? Well, just steal the entire machine instead of the money inside. And when ATMs become targets, no vault seems secure enough to safeguard our finances. So from daring covert operations in the middle of the night to gutsy attacks in broad daylight, join me as in today's video, I'm going to reveal the most shocking ATM heists ever. Number 1. A professional operation. This is as shocking as it gets, ladies and gentlemen. This heist was out of this world as these thieves literally used a forklift to steal an ATM during the middle of the night in Sacramento. It was an entirely different level of professionalism, considering how the forklift driver had all the safety gear on as well. As soon as the ATM is on the back of the truck, the driver speeds away, and the forklift is abandoned, with the driver running off in the opposite direction. Number 2. No security alarm? This guy knew what he was doing. He reverses his truck right in front of the door and uses a heavy cylinder to break the glass. Once he's in, he ties a rope around the ATM, runs back to his truck, and rips the machine out of the floor. He takes his sweet time getting the money machine out of the building, adjusting his truck several times to make sure everything is executed perfectly. Once it's finally out, the last thing we see is this bandit speeding off on his truck with the ATM still tied behind. Number 3, out of there in no time. These ATMs are the hardest ones to steal, and the reason for that is the machines are literally stuffed in concrete. But these ATM thieves know what they're doing, and instead of trying to rip the machine out, they have a different strategy in mind. Instead of tying the chain around the ATM, they use it to rip off the latch and get straight to the money. And while it does look like these guys were able to steal some currency out of the machine, I can't help but wonder whether it's really this easy to rob an ATM. Number 4. Is this real life? Forget a forklift, folks. These guys literally brought an industrial digger to rip an ATM out of a shop. You can see how the digger immediately gets to work and pulls out the ATM in no time before picking it up and placing it on a van. There's also a point when the person behind the wheel of the digger nearly tips over the van as well. But yeah, I just had one thought throughout this entire footage. Did these guys steal a digger just to steal an ATM machine? And do you think anyone found an ATM on the roof of a van odd while these guys were driving away? Number 5. Biggest fail ever. I wouldn't call this the most shocking ATM heist ever, but I will say it's one of the biggest fails I've ever seen. This guy pulls up next to a store and uses what appears to be a slab to crack open the door. He then hammers it down and gets inside the store and wraps a chain around the ATM. It's all going as planned until now, but as he speeds off in the hopes of taking home a money machine, nothing happens since he forgot to hook the chain up with the car. He circles back and tries to fix it, but I guess his nerves got the better of him, so he decided to ditch the job and get out of there. Number 6. Another embarrassing defeat. Speaking of fails, check this footage out as well as it shows 2 bandits trying to rob a super secure ATM machine. They're using wrenches to rip open the latch, and judging from the steel chaining attached to their truck, they have big plans for tonight. And while they're finally able to get the latch off, it seems like stealing this ATM is going to be way more than they originally bargained. His partner eventually gives up and gets in the truck, while the other thief continues trying to make space for the chain to go around the ATM. But when he realizes that's not happening tonight, he also rushes into the truck, fleeing the scene. Number 7. The usual suspect. This is another shocking ATM heist involving a digger and an extremely skilled gang of thieves. You can see the digger roll up in style and get to work straight away, taking down a wall to get to the ATM. He literally takes down an entire brick wall to pull out the ATM, and once it's finally out, it's tied and lifted before being placed on the back of the truck. The way these guys executed this entire operation shows it isn't their first time. Plus, what I fail to understand is how the cops never show up. I mean, these guys are literally taking down a wall. Shouldn't that be enough for citizens to alert the authorities? Number 8. Heist gone wrong. It seems like these raiders actually drove their truck inside a mall or building to steal this ATM. Anyway, the driver reverses the truck right into the machine, tearing it out of the ground and making it much easier to steal. Another raider ties it, and what's funny is, as the truck is pulling away, the toy car is also being yanked. But yeah, thankfully, the cops are alerted this time, and these robbers ultimately crack and exit the vehicle as they make a run for it, through what appears to be a forest. The cops have them cornered, though, and it's not long before they're cuffed for attempting to steal an ATM. Number 9, hitting an entire bank. So far, we've seen robbers try to get their hands on just one ATM, but get ready for this one, as it shows a ram raid crew yank out 17 machines from a bank. Yep, you heard that right. This crew stole 17 ATMs from a bank in the middle of the night, and what's strange about this heist is that the damage they caused was much greater than the loot. Anyway, this shocking heist was carried out by an infamous gang who had hit ATMs and banks for 8 long months back in 2018. The crew was eventually arrested, though, and thrown behind bars for 7 years. Number 10, fragile delivery. These guys pulled up to the gas station store, broke in, and immediately went in for the prize. I don't know what they're carrying, but it's either an axe or a hammer, and they're using it to break the ATM loose. They then tie a rope around the machine to yank it out of the store, and while they're definitely successful doing it, they later realize it's way too heavy to pick up and put in the trunk. What's the next best option? Just drive away with perhaps a 500-pound metal box dangling off the back of your vehicle. Number 11, that's how it's done. Now, of course, I'm not supporting this by any means, but this is how it's done. The ATM is pulled out of the concrete in a flash, and the bandit wastes no time pushing out of the convenience store. I mean, it's a prime example of teamwork, as both the thieves lift up the ATM machine, throw it in the back of their U-Haul truck, and speed off. But considering how easy it was to lift up that ATM, I don't really think they got too lucky that night. Number 12, ATM pulled out of ground. This is some insane footage of just how strongly these ATMs are drilled into the ground. The ATM raider first attaches a chain to the latch to make sure it's torn off before wrapping the steel chain around the machine. The truck backs up and revs, but believe it or not, the ATM doesn't even budge on the first attempt. The driver once again backs up and speeds, and this time he's successful as the whole block containing the ATM is snatched out of the concrete. And while these guys did manage to steal an ATM, dragging a huge metal box on the streets at night is a bit too much attention, no? Number 13, built to last. I'm sure the guys who make these ATM foundations and boxes know this might happen. And while these raider boys are able to rock the ATM off its concrete foundation, they came seriously underprepared, since there's no way they're cranking open the machine with just a wrench. But they deserve credit for trying so hard, and maybe next time they should also think big and bring a bulldozer or something. Number 14, heist cut short by an unwanted visitor. Finally, the police actually made it on time in this one. Anyway, this seems the same gang, since they also showed up with a digger to break down a wall and get to the ATM. They have a getaway ride waiting as well, so they're probably used to the cops showing up. The driver behind the wheel of the digger starts slamming the wall hard, and just as he's about to break in, the cops show up. All the ATM bandits run for the getaway car and flee the scene, but just imagine what a heist this would have been had the cops not shown up. Number 15, no fancy equipment, no machinery, just some ATM bandits living in the moment. And what surprises me the most about this video is that they're doing it in the middle of a busy street. There are literally cars going by, but these 3 thieves remain unfazed and lift the ATM and put it in the back of their vehicle. Oh, and in case you're wondering how they got the machine out in the first place, well, they crashed their car into the storefront. Number 16. Might have been this best method yet. Now you won't really get to see a lot of action in this footage, since the thieves never went through with it. But I want you to take a close look at what he's doing. This guy is actually changing the game. I mean, we've seen robbers try to just pull machines out of the foundation, but this dude has a different plan. He planned to use the ladder as a lever to yank the ATM out of the concrete on the first attempt. And of course, I'm not an ATM heist expert, but from the looks of it, this might just be the best method yet. Number 17. More than just an ATM. This ATM thief broke into this store's lobby to steal the ATM. He's seen in the video hooking up the machine to his truck, and I don't know why, but he looks awfully patient for someone who's robbing a store. Anyway, once the chain is attached, instead of just yanking the ATM, this guy literally tears off the entire storefront. Literally, everything was gone. The door, the frame, the windows, everything went flying along with the ATM. Number 18. Clearly not the best strategy. If only robbing ATMs was as easy as this. This not-so-bright pair tries to blow up an ATM using dynamite. I mean, these folks are clearly operating below market standards, considering how gangs literally have diggers and forklifts. Anyway, the dynamite does some damage to the ATM, but the cash box remains intact, and unfortunately for the dude guarding his partner, his face is all over the internet, and it's not long before he's caught. Number 19. Third time's the charm. The ATM thief gang is working hard to somehow yank the ATM out of this store, but the first attempt fails as the rope snaps and almost breaks a window. The truck backs up again, and the thieves can be seen scrambling, tying the rope to the truck again, but the second attempt also isn't any good. Either the ATM is screwed in too tightly, or the driver behind the wheel isn't doing something right. I think he finally figures it out a third time around when he literally reverses into the building, breaking the glass frame. The ATM is yanked out successfully this time around, and the thieves quickly load it up in the truck before fleeing. Number 20. The simplest ATM theft ever. Honestly, these guys were so unbothered by the fact that they were in a busy store stealing an entire money machine. They literally just walk in the store, load the ATM on the wheel, stand right off the wall, and stroll out like nothing even happened. But here's the funny bit. There was less than $200 in that ATM. I mean, that's not a big enough score to last them even a day, perhaps. Number 21. Now what? I think ATM heists are not as simple as they seem. And this footage shows exactly that, as a truck literally rams into an ATM machine. The airbags go off, and boy, I sure hope that truck was stolen because that hit did some serious damage. Anyway, did these guys really think robbing an ATM would be this simple? They're just picking at it as if it'll open up by itself. At least come up with a good plan. Number 22. Robbing a casino. Think of this footage as a budget version of Ocean's 11. Now, this is a pair who has a plan. They break into the casino with a small trolley to make sure it's a quick and clean heist. Once they spot the ATM, they run right to it and load it up on the trolley. But as they're running, the pulling the trolley trips, and believe it or not, the entire machine literally falls on top of him. I'm sure that was super painful, but either way, this probably wasn't the first time they'd done it. Number 23. That's gotta hurt. Not even restaurant ATMs are safe. This car pulled up outside a restaurant in the middle of the night, and out came an ATM raider. The guy who walked in had already rigged the lock, so getting in wasn't an issue at all. He uses a nylon strap to tie up the ATM to the truck and walks out to tell the driver it's showtime. He thinks he's helping out by pushing the door open at the last moment so the ATM can go out easily, but that's his worst mistake yet. The ATM is literally pulled in the air, and as it's going out, it smacks the thief right on his leg. There's no footage of what happened after that, but I'm 100% positive this guy couldn't walk straight for weeks. Number 24. Why is it so light? Forget what I said about not even restaurants being safe because these raiders didn't even miss a salon. The thief breaks in through a window in the door and runs straight to the ATM. And I'm sort of getting confused at this point because I never imagined ATMs would be this light. I mean, he just effortlessly drags it to the door and is able to pick up one end of it so he can slide it through the opening. Also, what if they started putting tracking devices in ATMs? Number 25. Straight out of a movie scene. I swear this footage is like a Hollywood movie, considering how it's so peaceful before a truck literally rams right into the store. I mean, all that destruction for one ATM? Anyway, the truck reverses hard into the store again, but this time it's to knock the ATM off the wall. One of the robbers starts examining the machine right there and then, but soon realizes it's best if they loaded it onto the truck and got out of there. I seriously wish this ATM has very little cash in it because they literally destroyed an entire store for it. Number 26. Out in a matter of minutes. I think it's about time we started classifying ATM theft as organized crime. Just look at these guys. One guy is behind the wheel, the other is waiting outside, and this dude is wrapping a chain around the ATM. As soon as it's yanked out by the driver, the other person waiting outside helps the guy pick it up and load it into the truck. The whole heist takes less than a minute. Number 27, just an ATM? I figure if you're robbing a superstore, there's plenty of other things you could rob instead of an ATM. I mean, you could probably steal some flat-screen TVs or expensive electronics, but these are robbers with a mission. And as soon as they break into this superstore, locating the ATM is their first objective. They can be seen in the camera again, dragging the machine back to where they broke in from. I can't understand why these stores don't have sirens or alarms anymore. Number 28. Smash and grab. This Ford F-150 is pushed to the limit as it reverses hard into a convenience store, tearing down its wall. The thieves get out and quickly get to action as they pull out the ATM from all the rubble and drag it out the store. It's loaded on the F-150, and these raiders are out of there in no time. This is a classic example of a smash-and-grab case. Plus, these guys literally stole an F-150 to pull off this heist. Number 29, a little extra but okay. These guys sort of went overboard because there was no need to run through the glass frame from the other side as well. And it doesn't really seem like they're initially in there for the ATM, but once they realize it's been knocked off the wall, it's just easy pickings. They drag the ATM out, load it on the truck, and poof. Number 30, a few $1,000s. I sure hope this truck was stolen, because if these raiders damage their truck for a couple $1,000, it's not worth it at all. They reverse into a donut shop at 4 a.m. in the morning and continue to do so again and again until they finally knock the ATM off the ground. It's quickly loaded on the vehicle after. Believe it or not, this group is actually notorious in the area for these types of heists. Number 31, in broad daylight. This brazen ATM theft is particularly shocking since it's going down in broad daylight, and you can literally see a man walk past it like nothing's even happening, and honestly, I have a big problem with that. This guy is literally ripping an ATM off the wall using his truck, and people are walking by like he's invisible. Why not call the cops? Anyway, the guy somehow single-handedly manages to drag the machine and gets it to fit in his trunk before speeding off. Number 32, $50,000 in damages. These ATM robbers pulled off a crazy heist using a long nylon strap, snatching an ATM right off the wall as it caused havoc in the store. The owner claims the machine had around $6,000, but the damage caused to the store was worth more than 50 grand. But the newer ATMs actually have a feature that ruins all the banknotes inside it, and I really hope this machine is the same. Number 33, Superhuman. These two dudes break into a convenience store, but they don't have a nylon strap or chain. They have this beast of a thief who alone is enough to carry an ATM out of the store. While his partner scrambles to clear the way and set up the ride, this dude is literally pushing an ATM machine out on his own. I'll admit it's an outdated way of doing things, but they even managed to break into the cash box, as the ATM was found later broken near the store. Number 34. So, what's the plan? I'm sure these guys thought they had struck gold when they first came up with this plan. One guy will distract the cashier while the partner sneaks an explosive inside an ATM machine. So, what after that? What's the plan? You can see how all three of them run out of the store right before the explosive goes off. But want to hear the strange bit? None of them ran back into the store. I mean, was this a prank or something? Or maybe they realized that the explosive is going to do absolutely nothing to the machine. Number 35. Need a stronger engine. These guys came prepared. They were covered from head to toe, had the entire area mapped out, and picked the perfect time to pull off this heist. They enter the store and immediately get to work wrapping the ATM with a nylon strap, and as the van takes off to rip it off the wall, the robbers soon realize they picked the wrong car. Nothing happens to the ATM, and while this gang had caused terror among local store owners with a total loot worth around £270,000, all 5 members were eventually caught and handed 30-year sentences. That's it for today's video, folks. So what do you think? Which heist did you find most shocking? And have you ever seen an ATM theft IRL? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more interesting videos in the future.